Aloha, my name is Patricia Bianca Tapia and I'm representing the beautiful state of Hawaii. Some of you guys may have already seen me around for the past 2 months, but today I'd really like to highlight my story and something about me, which is my hearing impairment. So how did it happen? Well, I was born 2 months early and my hearing didn't develop as much as it should have. And as time progressed, my hearing got worse and worse. And during my elementary years at school, we were required to take hearing tests annually. I kept failing them every year. So it got to the point where I had to see a doctor, and I was diagnosed with a hearing impairment. So the doctor introduced my mom, my dad, and myself to something called hearing aids. I keep this with me all day. And just so you know, this is how I hear. Without them. And this is how I hear with them. This is how I hear the universe. At schools, I always had to sit in the front so that I could hear my teachers and my professors and my classmates. They'd always make fun of me. Why do you say it like that? And my oral movement of my mouth, it wasn't developed properly. So what are some other struggles that I experience? Well, when I watch movies, I have to pick it up by visualizing and seeing what the actors are doing, putting together the pieces, because really I can't hear what they're saying. There has to be subtitles, and it puts me in an uncomfortable situation because not everybody prefers subtitles. And secondly, when I'm in the car and I'm in the back seat, I could never, ever fully hear what the driver is saying or the person in the passenger seat. I always have to ask them to repeat themselves or scoot myself forward so that I can put my ear next to their voice so I can really listen and hear. And thirdly, especially with the recent COVID outbreak, everyone has been wearing masks lately. And this is something that has been really, really difficult for me because I can only hear about 5% of what they're saying, almost nothing. I just pretend and nod like I understand, but in reality, I don't. And lastly, what makes me most uncomfortable is when I have to ask people to repeat themselves. Because I know this is a pet peeve for many people, but for me, it almost makes me feel like they're doing it on purpose to kind of mock me or make fun of me. An example is when they say, "Can you hear me now? Do you understand me now?" How do you think that makes me feel? Not the greatest. It makes me feel insecure, not the confident person I want to be, and it really puts me in a corner where I can't be my true self. So to my fellow pageant sisters, when you call out my name or try to get my attention, I am so sorry if I don't turn to you. I hope you know that it's not intentional. It's not my purpose to ignore you. Rather, it's because of my hearing impairment. And I hope that moving forward, we can create a long-lasting friendship and many memories as a sisterhood. And as pageant sisters, I've really been illuminated by everyone's advocacies and unique stories. We are all so powerful, impacting the Filipino communities around us. And as for me, it all began when I started taking initiatives. I read books out loud so that my mouth could move correctly and appropriately, and so that I could accurately deliver my speech. And secondly, I even joined a cheerleading team for the same reason, so that I could be more confident and speak loudly. And third, I ran for positions and eventually got them. As ASB president, ASB vice president, I always had to deliver speeches for my high school and to the big student population consisting of over 2,000 people. But what really resonates with me most is when I developed a club at high school called Best Buds Club. This consists of 2 groups. One group is students with disabilities, and the second group is the general student body population. And I would pair these students to do weekly activities together, like coloring, pizza parties, watching movies together. Why did I do this? Well, as someone that felt almost victimized for every negative experience that I felt for my disability, I never wanted a student to feel that way, especially at such a young age. And therefore, I really wanted them to feel the real high school experience where they weren't marginalized, where they are a real high school student who belongs, who is loved, who is cared for. And this is something that I really cherish and I am so proud of myself for because it continues to live on today. This is when I realized this is my passion. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, giving back to people with disabilities. And therefore, I became the Tanawaños USA Youth Director, where I bridged the gap between Tanawan, Philippines, and the Filipino communities of the United States. Tanawan is where my lolo and lola grew up, so it has a special place in my heart. And this is where, as a youth director, I develop programs for inclusive education in an academic environment. And in my journey here today with Miss Universe Philippines, and for the rest of my life, I am championing my story and uplifting those with disabilities. And as a hearing impaired woman, I am the voice of the universe.